Damn, I hope you didn't just throw it up. Happy day one. Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me? Are we good? Good morning. Happy day one, as I tell my coworkers. My name is Darius Robinson. I'm a career development enthusiast. A little bit about my background. I'm born and raised in Decatur, Georgia. I've been in the recruiting industry for just over a decade. I really have a passion for helping folks who are trying to make that first transition. A lot of things that I talk about today are things that I've done to land my first tech job. So let's get right to it. So the first we'll talk about understanding tech, right? A lot of people, we're thinking about, which way to go and how to succeed. Job search optimization. So what are some things that you should really be doing to make sure you maximize the opportunities to land interviews? Communication templates. So we'll do a little chat GPT. I know you've been hearing a lot about that, and then we'll talk a little bit about networking. First, tech company versus tech job. So I'll pose the first question. How many people in here want to work at a tech company? Raise your hand. Okay. How many people are looking for a tech job? So just randomly, what do you think is the difference between a tech job and a tech company? Just anyone, go ahead. You, right here. Oh. Exactly. And the reason I bring this up, I've been to this conference, this is my third time, and a lot of people that I've spoken with, they're looking to transition into tech. And some of these people are already working at tech companies. And but it's an interesting concept to think about. So I want to talk a little bit more about experience versus education. So, a lot of times, like maybe, I've worked with people who had over 10 years in finance or, 10 years in accounting, and they decided to switch into tech because there was this belief that they would make more money. And I said, it's actually funny because the reality is when you're really searching for a job, your experience is what's going to outweigh and really be a determinant factor on how much you're making. So if you're thinking about switching into tech for the compensation, it might be good to also look at other opportunities at big tech companies. So what I like to do is I don't go to a website. How many people are familiar with levels.fyi? Okay, great. So if you haven't heard about this website before, here's a website that it's kind of like Glassdoor, but on steroids. So you could actually come here and you could see the salary of employees who've submitted information at big tech companies. So I'm going to take a random job title. So let's say, let me look at Google salaries. Let me go back. If you could guess, what do you think the average compensation for an accountant at Google makes? Anyone, just blurt out loud. Just give me a number. How much? 100K. Okay, nope, too low. How much? 85K, wrong. One more. 160, okay, let's see. Accounting. Who's financial analyst? $178,000. So now this is a level 5 accountant at Google, $185,000. How much do you think a recruiter might make? Oh, I'll show you. $170,000. So I just want you to kind of think about that a little bit. Like, if you have several years of experience building things in a specific industry, if you can land a job at a big tech company, you won't need to get the certifications. You just need to get through the interview. So just wanted to show you that very quickly. I know that just blew a lot of people's mind, like, dang, I need to become an accountant. But no, it's okay. Let me go down. Oops, we're going too fast. How do I go to that? Okay, here we go. All right, so now we'll move into the job search checklist. Now, this is very important because when you're really thinking about searching for a job, you really want to maximize your awareness to opportunities. So the first thing you want to do once you get your resume updated is make sure your resume is posted in the right places. So how many people have their resume posted on Indeed.com right now? Okay, how many people are on Glassdoor, on ZipRecruiter? Your resume should be posted in all of those places, and I'll tell you why. Because different companies use different resume databases. So if your resume is only on Indeed, you're restricting the opportunities for companies who aren't able to afford Indeed.com's access. So make sure you do the research. So if you're looking for a tech role, Dice is also a great place. Set up job alerts. So how many people are familiar with Google Job Alerts? Wow, not a lot of people. Yeah, you can literally go on Google and say accounting jobs in Atlanta, Georgia, and they will literally send you emails every time a position becomes available. So check that out. The other thing is when you're thinking about working for a company, some company websites actually provide you can receive job alerts from them as well. So if you're looking to work at, let's say, Capital One or Bank of America or Amazon, you can literally create a profile, upload your resume so that the recruiter can find it, but you can also create job alerts based on positions that you would like to be considered for. So as soon as the position becomes available, you're able to apply as soon as possible. Create a tracker. This is probably the most important bullet point on this slide. If you're really trying to optimize your job search, you want to make sure you're taking notes of every single interaction. Anytime you apply for a job, or if you're working with a recruiter or a hiring manager, you want to document that. You know, I see all the time on LinkedIn when people say, you know, I applied to hundreds of jobs and I received all these rejection letters. And one time I asked my friend, I said, you really applied to hundreds of jobs? He said, yeah. I said, well, how many were you rejected for? He said, I don't know. I wasn't keeping track. I said, well, how many final rounds of interviews did you make? Well, I only made 3. Well, who was the recruiter that you worked with 3 months ago that you were not inclined? I don't know. Well, the reason you need this information is because you never know when it might come back around, and you want to stay on track as you're speaking with people. So you're at this event, right? Think about the jobs you applied to and maybe some people in this room that might know that person that didn't respond to your email or your text message. So keep that in mind. Apply the 80-20 rule. So what I mean by the 80-20 rule is that you should spend 80% of your time actually doing research and connecting with people, and 20% of the time applying for jobs. Because if you really, and I'll go to this more, but when you really optimize your search, your job search, the information is going to come to you. So you don't really have to spend a lot of time looking for jobs. You spend more time finding people to communicate with. And I call it implement prime strategy. So that's why I have on my Deion Sanders throwback jersey for prime. He made a transition, right? Deion Sanders played for the Atlanta Falcons and the Atlanta Braves. And then he somehow, 20, 30 years later, is the head coach at Colorado State. Now, you talk about transition and success. Anything is possible. So there are 3 different areas to look at, right? So if you see an open position, you know, you have a company that you want to work for, and then also just a particular job title. So the first section is about an open position. So let's say you found an opportunity on Google Jobs, right? There's an opening for a software engineer at Capital One. So you want to add this information to your tracker. You want to also ensure that you meet the basic and potentially the preferred requirements. This is, as a recruiter, this is a part of the reason why a lot of people don't get responses to applications, because so many candidates apply to positions they do not meet the basic qualifications for it. If you're going to take anything from what I say today, please, please, please do not apply to a position if you do not meet the basic qualifications. You're making it harder for the next person who actually meets the qualifications. And as a recruiter, I can tell you about 90% of the people who apply do not meet the basic qualifications. The next is, making sure the compensation and location are in alignment with your career aspirations. So you might see a job, right? But they might, who wants to stay remote? Who wants to always work from home? All right, so that's something you should look into before you apply to a position if that's something you really want. How many people want to make over $100,000? Whoa, I should see everyone's hands raised. I guess you're already making 100,000, that too, so excuse me. But you want to make sure, and also just do company reviews to try to understand if that culture is something you want to be a part of. The next part is, so you're receiving these job alerts, right? Whether it's through your email or you saw them on LinkedIn, but also there's an opportunity to work at a company. So let's say you want to work at Capital One or you want to work at Amazon. You want to make sure your resume is uploaded into that database, your most up-to-date resume. Because let's say you applied to a position, I don't know, 3 years ago, and now you have 3 more years of experience. Well, if you haven't uploaded that most recent resume to that company's database, it's going to make it less likely that the recruiter or the hiring manager will find your information. Set job alerts, which we've already talked about, but also identify special programs and upcoming events. One thing that I did many years ago, I really wanted to work at Coca-Cola. And so I literally scrubbed Google to find opportunities where they would be out in the community. They had it was actually a Techsgiving event where they were inviting people in the community to do, we're making I think we're giving out food or something. But I had an opportunity to meet the director of HR at the company from that event. So I was able to get an interview just from going to this event before an opportunity even became available. But also, maybe some of you have completed a boot camp or you have some certifications. Different companies have special programs for individuals who come from non-traditional backgrounds. I know Google has several, Facebook has several, Capital One, Amazon, all these big companies. So if you're taking a transition into tech, it's important to understand what are these programs that exist and what are the application deadlines and things like that. The last thing is a position. So let's say you're looking to become a software engineer, right? Well, you want to build a community of software engineers on your LinkedIn. The more connections you have that are software engineers, you're actually working against the algorithm. So if you want to beat the algorithm, it's important to start engaging with those types of people. And I could give you an example for myself. When I came into my company, I was hired to recruit software engineers. And so one of my mentors said, well, you should add 50 software engineers every single day. I said, that's not going to work. And when I came to the company, I had 5,000 connections. Now I have over 25,000 connections. And about 60% of my engagement are software engineers. And I still recruit software engineers. So imagine how fun my job is now because all I need to do is post a job. So for you, if you're looking to get a career opportunity in software engineering, you want to start engaging with that database and setting up calls with those people. Also finding LinkedIn groups or meetups or Discords or Slack. These are places where people are being very active in that community. And the more you're engaging with those people, right, the people who run those communities, something even like Techsgiving, right? Like there's a Discord channel. There are people constantly chatting about how they're yielding success in their job search or opportunities to network or conferences. You want to make sure you have an opportunity to stay on top of that information so that you can attend those events and meet with those people. Oh, the last thing is staffing companies. How many people have ever worked with a staffing company? That is a very good place to get your resume as well, because staffing companies are incentivized to place you, whether it's a contract role or a full-time role. And if you're looking to gain experience, generating contract roles at staffing companies is a great way to start. I have at least 3 or 4 friends who started off doing very bare minimal contract work for tech systems and are now making well over $100,000 in the tech space. So transferable skills. Now, this is very important, especially for those who are looking to transition into tech. So we talked about, making the decision whether or not you want to move into tech. We looked at a little bit with salary. We took a look at job alerts and making sure you're maximizing your exposure on the platforms. But now we have to think a little bit more about the communication, right? Everyone wants to update their resume, right, and make sure they have it available on these websites. But if you're not able to articulate your experiences, especially how they're transferable, if you're looking to move into a new space, you want to be able to articulate that. And so what we're going to do is use a little chat GPT. How many people have used chat GPT? Great. So what we're going to do is look at your background, right? And we're going to generate some transferable skills based on your resume. So what I'd like for everyone to do is so basically I built a prompt that you can use on your own, and you can edit this if you know a little more about the platform. But basically it just says you are a recent job title. Here's your resume. You would like to become a X. Generate a list of 10 applicable transferable skills that can be highlighted while networking at a conference, like Techsgiving. See, we're working together. Also include 2 to 3 sentences for each explaining how this skill is transferable. So I actually ran this search, and I'll show you what it generated for me. So I ran the search in the system, and here you go. Well, I don't have to, it shows on my resume or whatever. But literally, this platform within 2 seconds generated all this information about my resume. So now I have talking points when I go to meet with people, right? If you're confused and you're having that imposter syndrome, you don't know what to say about your background, this is a platform that you can use. So I have a list here, and these are transferable skills that I can talk about and add more details. Next slide. So what I'd like you to do, if you'd like me to send you your own generated transferable skills list, you could just take a picture or join this bit.ly very quickly, and later this afternoon I'll actually email you the example. So I'll give you 1 second. All right. Coming up on time. The next piece is the elevator pitch. This is so important. I engage with a lot of people, especially being a recruiter, that really aren't really able to articulate their why. They aren't able to explain why they're looking for a job or what value do they bring. And so, thanks to this, I actually generated an elevator pitch prompt that we can use on chat. So this prompt basically says, hey, my name is X. I bring a wealth of experience in this information. Well, you can read it from the screen, I have to go through it. But basically, we'll do the same thing. So if you're interested in getting a generated elevator pitch, you can follow this link. I'll give you 30 seconds to pull up this information, and I'll just talk a little bit more about it. But this is very important, especially being at a conference like this. There are so many individuals who can be impactful with your search, but if you're not asking the right questions, it's going to make it very difficult for them to help you. Just as an example, I was speaking with someone at a conference 2 weeks ago, and they were looking to transition. They had just completed a boot camp, and they wanted a job at Amazon. And I'm like, well, these, most of the positions require a little more experience, but tell me why you completed this boot camp. And they were just like, hey, I just want to make more money, and I actually recruit software engineers. So I said, well, what's your preferred coding languages? He said, well, I can code in any coding language. I know everything about coding. No, that's what they said. I promise you, it's bad. But I met someone else who actually completed a boot camp, and they knew their information. They said, hey, I just graduated. I really love JavaScript, HTML. I also realized that your company has a program for non-traditional folks. I see that this program starts in April. Are you able to refer me or let me, invite me to speak with someone who's come through a similar background? You see how easy that's very easy. They know the information. So if you want a pre-generated example, follow that link. So to review, I know we talked about the why, right? We looked at, tech job versus tech company, and really thinking about your wealth of experience and trying to understand if really taking a different path is the right way to go. Or maybe you're at a tech company and you're looking to take your career to the next level. That's great too, but it's important to think about what are the opportunities at companies that maybe I haven't considered. The prime search, when I talked about, making sure you set the job alerts on the company websites, making sure you have the job alerts on Google, getting your resume uploaded at staffing companies, making sure you're attending events, just prime. And the reason I call it prime is that it's like prime time. And when you think about prime time is that, it's always available. It's right there. So if your resume is in all the prime locations, which is the company website and Indeed and ZipRecruiter or Dice, whatever the case may be, your resume is exposed to as many recruiters as possible. Then when you think about the job alerts, as soon as a job alert becomes available, you receive a notification. So if you have all the job alerts that come across from a company website, from Google, and your resume is available to all the recruiters, now you get to just have fun. You get to sit back and wait for the opportunities to come to you. But it also provides you an opportunity to network and meet people and engage with people so that they can push your resume to the right individuals. Oh, that's a typo here, but leverage ChatGPT. If you haven't started to dabble with it, it has the power is endless. I just went through two very minor examples of how you can leverage the technology, but you could literally, as a very basic example, but I didn't show you today, you could literally take the experience. You could say to Chat, here is my experience. Here's my experience. Here's the job description. Generate 4 bullet points that will will make it more likely for the company to give me a call back. Literally, and it would just do it in 5 seconds, and then you can edit it. But one thing I want to tell you about leveraging ChatGPT and generative AI, please edit your information. I can tell the difference between when something is generated and when something is real. So if you're using it, great, but please do your due diligence because it can ultimately backfire on you if someone is under the impression that you use generative AI to provide information. So let's connect. Day one Darius, I am on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, well, X. Feel free to add me here, but it's all the same on all platforms. But I will open it up for questions. Say that again. Oh yeah. So let me go back to Google very quickly. You can literally go on. Oh no, I'll show you here. Hold on 1 second. Oh, in the platform, literally, you can see the information. So here you can go and say, I don't think you can see compensation here. It's not showing me on Google Jobs, but I think you can on Indeed and on LinkedIn. So if you are on either of those platforms, it would be very easy for you to kind of see what the compensation is for those roles. What I will say is, and I didn't mention this earlier, but if you're looking for a job, recruiters are not the people you want to speak with. It's the hiring managers and the individuals who already work in the space. So I only say that because as a recruiter, I recruit several positions, but only for a specific category. So if you're on LinkedIn and reaching out to recruiters, you're not, unless you see on their page what they're recruiting for, you won't know. What you will know is that if you see a job title that says software engineering manager, I can guarantee you that they're a software engineering manager. And I can guarantee you that if they're hiring, and if you want to work for their company, they make the hiring decisions. And they are in control of deciding whether or not your resume is going to make it to the next step. And one thing I will add to that is even like with recruiters, if I don't see something I like on your resume, I'm going to the next resume. So if I am a hiring manager and maybe I don't have an opening today, then maybe I'll just keep your resume to the side for when I have a position available. But recruiters don't necessarily work in that same fashion because the market is different. There are a lot more people constantly coming to us about job opportunities. But I'll take one more question. Oh, yeah, I remember you. What's up, man?
Would you recommend reaching out to recruiters or, like, based off that question or what you just said, would you recommend hitting up recruiters or hiring managers when you are looking?
My recommendation is to hit up hiring managers and individuals who work in the same position that are tenured at the company. So the reason for this is that the recruiter is the gatekeeper, so they only have access to so much information. As a software engineer or a manager, they will have access to information before it becomes available when you start thinking about job opportunities. But they also know other people who do the same thing. So they might not have an opportunity at this company, but they might have a friend at another company that they can send you over and connect you with that person. Well, great. So I think I'm over time, so thank you again. See you soon.
Let's give it up for Darius Robinson.